The average man is waking up, and society is terrified.
Average men are waking up, and society is terrified. There is a movement that is brewing. There is something that is going on, which you can check in my last video in the comment sections. A lot of men are sick and tired. A lot of men are very sick and tired, and they are checking out. And if society doesn't start taking this problem extremely serious, they're going to have a devastating problem on their hands.
The average man is waking up and society is terrified. Today's video comes from the Masculine Development channel. His channel is linked in the description, so you can go check him out and support him. Guys, society is terrified. There is something brewing as men are waking up and walking away. They're realizing that they have alternatives. They are walking away or going their own way. Watch it in this video to understand why the average man is waking up, society is terrified, and what the implications for this will be on society as more men wake up, walk away, or go their own way. And now let's just jump right back into the video.
Listen, 2 or 3 generations ago, as a man, if you're working 40 hours a week, you come home, you're going to be able to provide for your wife, provide for your kids, provide for your household. And back then, they had a way that your woman would respect you. Your kids would respect you. But on top of that, the number one thing that they would do is they would appreciate your sacrifice. And so when society told men that they had to sacrifice not only for themselves, but their family and their community, their society, they were okay with that because it wasn't the hard work that bothered us, right? It was the fact that we were being acknowledged about our sacrifice that kept us going. I saw a cute, heartwarming video the other day. This guy driving home, and he was telling how he's on the brink of damn near psychosis and whatever. He was going crazy. And the thing that keeps him going, working these 50, 60-hour weeks, is as he was pulling into the garage, his daughter comes running out, like jumping up and down for joy because she's just so happy to see him. The guy starts crying because he's like, this is my motivation. And that's a lot of guys out there. Most men don't work long hours for the sake of just working long hours. We don't do that. It's not fun. The average man isn't doing that for fun. An average man is willing to do that for an appreciative wife, appreciative children, a society that respects him. And so what ended up happening 1 to 2 generations later, and thanks to humanism, right, it's starting to erode the very emotions that men needed in order to keep us going. Now, of course, you know, there's that group of men out there that, like, as a man, you should be doing this regardless of the situation. And you should sacrifice and you should stay hard, right? I get it. I completely understand where you're coming from. But let's not pretend that having a great companion, having great children who respect you, who admire you and look up to you matters. Let's not pretend that that doesn't matter to a man's overall psyche.
You see, guys, here's what's going on right now. Men pay 80% of all taxes while women make 80% of all consumer purchases. Notice how he used the word sacrifice, because women and the state and their simps are now out and about saying that being a real man is about sacrifice. Men have sacrificed their lives, their health, their everything for women, children, and society for decades, for hundreds of years. But what were they told? They were told, if you sacrifice yourself for society, you will be given a wife. You'll be given children. You'll be given the opportunity to create something for yourself, a legacy. You will have a family. You will have a society that respects you and that thanks you for what you have done. You'll be given consideration. As a man, what does reality look like now? Women and men are not treated equally in the criminal court system. If you think about the contributions that men make to society and the importance of men in society, you would think that the court systems would be tilted towards the favor of men because men have to sacrifice more than women. And yet, men are punished substantially heavier in the criminal court system because they say that, well, men, you're a man, you should have known better. Women and men are not even treated the same for the same crimes by society. If you hear that a teacher had a relationship with someone that she shouldn't have had a relationship with, what does she get? A slap on the wrist. All right? No jail time. She suffered enough. If a man does the exact same thing, he's going to be found, they're going to basically put him under the prison. All right? He's never going home. This is how men are treated in society, where women are given special privileges and men are given special punishments. Men are well aware today, increasingly, that you don't own your children. The state owns your children. There are many cases where a man will have a child with a woman, and the woman will decide in the hospital to spite the man that she's going to give the child up. So she gives the child up, and when the man finds out what has happened and he tries to get the child back, the state tells him that he can't. This is the reality that men would live with every single day. Or you have men who may have custody of their children, but they have to still pay child support to the mother because the mother doesn't have an income of her own. Yeah, I don't make that make sense. This actually happened with John Cryer, who was on 2.5 Men, where he was married, then got a divorce, and he had to pay child support to the child's mother, even though the child lived with him. This is the reality that men have to go through each and every single day. When you look at paternity fraud, men usually have around 5 years, I believe it is, to go to the court and let them know that if a woman puts the wrong name, if a woman puts their name on a birth certificate for a child that's not theirs, they need to basically, within 5 years, inform the court that this is incorrect, or else they will now need to pay child support for the rest of that child for 18 years, or sometimes more than that. Even if they did not know that the woman had done this. And then the woman will literally say that, well, she had to do it because she needed the child support, and that was the only name she could put. So yes, she knew that she knew he wasn't the father because she hadn't seen him in years. Okay. But, so it's clearly paternity fraud, but she had to do it or else she wouldn't get child support. Some states are now making it illegal and throwing women in prison. Well, throwing women in jail for doing this. But the reality is it's not going to result in men coming back to society. Men are no longer going to sacrifice themselves for society. And if a man wants a woman, if a man wants a wife and children, he is going to exercise his alternatives. This is why men walking away is so dangerous. Because these men are only working just enough to survive and thrive and no more. The money that they would be spending to subsidize the living of women and their children, they're not doing it anymore. And by avoiding dating and marriage and relationships entirely, they're keeping that money for themselves. The average man can live happily in a shoebox at the side of the road. What does that mean? I get messages from men telling me that they're living in their vans and how happy they are living in these vans. All right, some have nice RVs, some just have straight up vans, and they will have it no other way. And they are working and they're making tons of money, and all of that money they're saving and they're chilling, and they're saying that they are not going back, and they are literally living happily in a shoebox. A van is a shoebox for a man, just like you would have a hamster and you'd put a hamster in a shoebox. Okay, a van is a shoebox for a man, and these men are living happily in shoeboxes at the side of the road. Literally. It is a shoebox parked at the side of the road. And this is where these men are living, and they are very happy and very comfortable. Some guys only rent a room. But these men are not putting down spending the kind of money they were spending before. They are done with that. They're waking up and walking away. Or in some cases, they're going their own way, saying that they want to have nothing to do with relationships or dating at all. If they want a relationship, men walking away are going overseas. They'll find a Filipina or a Latina, and they'll have a relationship over there. They'll date, or in some cases even marry. All right? But they're not doing it in the United States anymore. They're not doing it in Western society anymore. They're not doing it in Australia anymore. They're not doing it in these countries anymore. And because men are reducing the number of hours that they work, men are not working those 60 to 80 hours of work anymore. A lot of these men are realizing now that they can get by on 30 to 35 hours of work. So they're almost slashing, or in some cases, literally slashing the number of hours that they are working in half. Other men are not working at all. They're doing day trading. They're living off the interest from their investments. They're purchasing property. They're learning about real estate, and they're receiving a passive income from that. And then on top of the passive income that they're receiving, they're saving most of it and living far below their means. They're living simple lives of luxury. Guys, I've talked about this. I don't own a lot of clothing. The clothing that I have, I basically wear my stuff until it wears out, and then I buy some new stuff. That's how I live. All right? But pretty much everything I own has value. All right? Everything from my video games to my laptops to my tablets and my cell phones, almost everything that I own, aside from my toiletries and my clothing, have actual value. Even if they get older, they can still be sold for something, if even for parts, but a lot of them will sell for decent money. Most women today have nothing of value. You go to their homes and they have literally nothing of value in their homes. Nothing of value almost. All right? They don't even have nice televisions. You go to a guy's house, he'll have giant TVs. He'll have a giant television, 65-inch TV, video game consoles, guitars, things that actually have value. Even a sneaker collection, y'all. Sneaker collections, these things hold value. And you know how men operate. Men take care of their stuff. So their stuff will look practically brand new. Okay? Jordans and stuff like this. Guess what? Those things are being resold for hundreds of dollars. Jerseys, those things are being resold sometimes for hundreds of dollars. So the things that a man possesses, a lot of things that men possess, have actual value. Men have their electronics, they have their trading cards, Pokemon trading cards, real value. What do women have? Clothing that as soon as they buy them, as soon as a couple of months go by, they're out of season. And the way women view it is that these are good investments because it will, even if they never wear it, it was cute. Or they wore it just one time, and at one time it got them some attention. You see, you have to remember that for women, attention is a currency. But as we're going forward, women are realizing that the attention that they receive online from simps isn't real. Okay? When they go out, because it's increasingly not translating to money anymore. The simp economy is moving overseas. More and more simps are refusing to take women out on dates. All right? So unless they have a OnlyFools or a LonelyFans, they're having a harder time accessing the simp economy. As more and more men refuse to take women on dates, to even meet them in public, as more and more men refuse to even approach women and speak to them. They can go online and they can try to make money off Instagram by getting views on videos and so forth. But outside of that, outside of becoming an influencer, and many of them are going to fail at it, it's over for them. They're not going to be able to find men to subsidize their living, and the state is broke. And the state can never make a man work harder than he'll force himself to work. Guys working 60, 70, 80 hours a week. Guys, think about it logically. If the state turned us into slaves, we're already living as slaves, but if it formally did it, they would still have to set a certain number of hours. Usually, let's say from sun up to sundown, all right? Sun up to sundown. I mean, guys, realistically, you're not going to be out there for more than 12 hours. Think about how much work it takes just to get ready in the morning to go to work. Think about the fact that we have to pay for transportation, for food, and all of these things. So if the state turns you into a slave, the state is going to have to feed you too. It's going to have to provide health care for you. It's going to have to provide food for you. It's going to have to provide shelter for you. It's going to have to provide all of these things for you. And it has to provide a reasonable working number of hours for you to work. And keep in mind, because you're now a slave of the state, you're not going to be actively reading and studying and learning new skills. No, you're just going to be utilizing the exact skill sets that the state is having you do. What, you're gonna have you picking things off a field? Guys, men actually have to learn advanced skills to contribute to society, to build society. Men won't do that anymore, or they'll only do just enough to survive, and that's it. Okay? What are they going to do? Force you using threats or imprisonment to make you sit there and study for hours under threat, or force you to go overseas and fight in wars, under threat? The guys, they tried that in the 90s. I told you about that with Desert Storm, where they took a bunch of prisoners and they said, well, you have a choice. You can either go to prison or you can go serve in the military. And a bunch of guys went and they served in the military. It was a terrible failure, because when you're a prisoner, you're a slave. You're basically a slave. That's how it is in the United States. And they sent these men overseas to go and fight for their country. A lot of these men, basically, it resulted in many cases of friendly fire, desertion, and a number of other terrible things occurred. And guys, the Roman Empire, even though they were very dependent on slave labor, but there's one thing that the Roman Empire had in their laws, and clearly stating and forbidding the use of slaves and indentured servants to serve in the military. There were physicians who were slaves. They were teachers who were slaves, but they could not serve in the military. And I guarantee you it's because they had tried the damn thing before and they knew what the consequences are. These people, no matter what you think, are property. They're not. They're imprisoned. And if you try to do this, you are setting up a scenario for them to turn on you at any given moment, because they'll say there's an enemy in front of us, there's an enemy behind us. The only thing that the enemy in front of them has to do is say, hey, how many of there are you? There's like 20,000 of you? Okay, check this out. We will now grant you all your freedom if you fight for us. Think about this very carefully, y'all. Think about it very carefully. You have an entire military comprised of people who are forced to be there. Forced to be there. This is something that the government is not thinking about, especially with Gen Zers, where you force these people into the military. Some of y'all are like, we'll just use them for fodder. Or, guys, a lot of Gen Zers have said that they will betray us and go fight for the enemy. All the enemy has to do is say, listen, we will take you in. We will give you citizenship. We will free you. And they're going to look back and say, okay, well, I have a couple of choices. I could end up passing away on this battlefield, fighting for a country that absolutely hates me, that is forcing me to be here. And then when I return back to society, I will then be punished upon my return, regardless of fulfilling the requirements set upon me. So I'm going to go back to be treated horribly, or if I don't get deleted here or horribly injured, or I could basically just walk away, surrender. I don't even have to fight for these people. I don't even have to fight for the enemy. All I have to do is surrender, go across the line, all right? And there are certain rules of war, and they will take me into their country and treat me well, give me citizenship, allow me the opportunity to earn a livable wage for myself, right? I may even be able to find a wife over there, and I'll be treated and respected and honored as a hero for walking away from a country that absolutely despises me and hates me. What do you think they're going to choose? Western society basically wants men to continue to honor the contract. If you sacrifice everything for us, we're going to give you a great life. You're going to get the American dream. The American dream is gone, but the state and women in Western society still want you to honor that commitment. They still want you to honor the contract. Why would you honor that when it's been dissolved? All right? And they use shame like you're not a real man. Going around and telling men that they're not real men because you're not a real man because the state and their agents are dishonorable will not lead to men serving. That will only further push men away push men away, push boys away. Right now, they're talking about instituting a military draft, not so that they can send people to overseas, but because our military is about to break down because we don't have enough people in the military. Our drafts are down to 10% of what it was 50 years ago. And these soldiers, there's an extreme amount of weight that's being placed upon them. We're at a point where if there's a national crisis and we need the military to step in and to help us because there's something wrong with infrastructure. Let's say all the power in the United States goes out. We need the military to step in and keep order. We need the military to step in and repair and distribute food and supplies. We don't have people for this, guys. We don't even have, our Coast Guard is depleted. We don't have a proper Coast Guard. Think about it. And the idiots are like, we have drones and robots that will protect us. We do not need boots on the ground. I repeat, we do not need boots on the ground. Like, guys, this is how countries get taken over. And men are not going to stand up for this. Men are not going to stand up for the country. You have men who have no wife, no children, and they believe that their society hates them. They will fight for nothing. If a man does not have love for family or for country, he will fight for neither. He will only fight to protect himself. He may fight to protect, whatever family members he has, maybe his mother, father, and siblings. He may fight to protect his community, but a lot of men won't even fight for their communities. All right? They'll fight for their properties. All right? Some men will just fight for their property. They won't even fight for their community. Because, as simply put, and they definitely won't be fighting for their country, because a man that does not have love for family or for country will fight for neither. What we're heading for is a completely wrecked society where men have walked away. They are absolutely not contributing to society anymore. They don't give a damn. They're basically like, listen, miss us with that. Women are basically going to find themselves struggling financially because men are no longer subsidizing their living. And it's crazy. You're going to see a lot of them are going to experience poverty, destitution, living in their cars, living in shelters, living in the streets, living in the woods, and the government is not going to be able to subsidize them. And the great thing about this is, as all of this is happening, women and the state will continue to blame men, shame men, try to tear down men, believing that this is somehow going to get men to come back and help. And if they try to do things like institute bachelor taxes, where they tax men even more heavily, men will just reduce the amount of money that they earn. And they will start getting, that's when a lot of these men who qualify for Medicaid, they qualify for Medicaid, for Medicaid, they'll go and get Medicaid, and now they get free health insurance. All right? They qualify for food stamps. Oh, now they'll go and get food stamps if they qualify. And all of these different benefits. Oh, they qualify for disability. Guys who worked in construction for years, even as electricians, and their bodies have broken down because of some of the work that they've had to go through. They've done. All right? Or they've worked in a lot of these jobs that have damaged their bodies. And they absolutely qualify. You cannot have a different set of rules to qualify for disability for women and a different set for men. So a lot of these men, the media has been talking about it. A lot of these men are going and applying for disability. So they'll get disability, and like I said, they will live good. They will live in a shoebox at the side of the road. But in many cases, because these men have money in the bank, because they save their money, they don't need a lot. Once they work out food and shelter, they're good. And a lot of men are now looking into homesteading, moving off the grid, getting a ranch, buying a piece of land, putting a ranch on it, or a tiny house on it, or modular house. Some dudes are living in sheds, converting sheds into full homes, and they're living comfortably. They're living very happy. They dig a well, they put up solar electricity, they set up their own septic tank, and they have chickens, and goats and other animals, and everything they have. So they end up with fresh milk. What else? Fresh milk, tons of eggs. They have rabbits, so the rabbits are breeding, and then they'll have rabbit meat. They have freezers, so they store all of that meat. They skin the meat. they store the meat, and they also go to farmer markets, and they trade things at farmer markets. It's an incredible skill. All right, they can go to farmer markets, they can trade the things that they don't need, and then they can get tons of different things there as well, guys. And then you have an entire black market right now. I shouldn't say a black market, but there's an entire market where predominantly men are trading different things and skill, including skills. Yes, skills and services for the things that they want. Like, okay, well, I need someone's like, well, I need someone to do this for me, and I'll trade you this for it. And these men will do the math and they're like, yep, this makes sense. All right. So they might some guy might say, well, yeah, I have this car and I will trade you, you have this specific skill set, guys, it could be something like build me a website. It could literally be something like build me a website, or create this for me, or do this for me, or, or fix this for me. And a guy will say, okay, yep, I'll do this. Yep, we'll agree on it. And I will actually pay to take this off your land. Like, take this car. Like, I'll actually pay to remove this because he's already done the math and he knows what he wants to do with it. All right? And everyone's happy. Guys, men don't need society. Society needs men. I've said this before and I'll say it again. A country without its men is not a country. A country without its men is a wasteland. By the way, guys, if you're enjoying the content, subscribe to our newsletter for my personal thoughts, insights, and a free copy of my ebook, The Blueprint for Escaping the Rat Race. Click the link in the description to get your free copy. What do you guys think regarding all of this? The average man is waking up and society is terrified. Let me know your thoughts and we'll talk about it in the comments. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away. And cheers.